It's fine.
It's totally on time as well.
Everything's fine.
Oh god, I realized some things that I haven't
Perfectly
done.
on. Yeah, it's on time. We're good
Here. Yeah. The one important thing that I have to do, which I didn't do...
Oh, we don't have any names.
No, shit.
No, I didn't put names on. But I also didn't have the overlay for, like, bits and stuff until just a second ago. So, I mean... So if, like, someone had followed or subscribed or any of that kind of crap, yeah, I wouldn't have...
That's fine.
Even that. Now it exists. Now it exists. Did I have any of these other ones that I need? No, screw it. Whatever. Hi, welcome to Discussing Tabletop.
We're all fine here. How are you?
We're okay. Don't worry about it.
It's a fine day. 177, March 20th, 2021. There you go. There's the thing. I didn't change the docket, though the docket is kind of weird. Anyway, yeah, so today we're gonna start with some I'll call it, like, I'll keep it simple, D&D news. That's the first thing. We'll just call it that. There's a couple of topics in that one. Then we're gonna talk about Star Trek Adventures news. A few things in that, and then I'm gonna talk about Stellaris Kickstarter.
Good.
Yes. And then, table evolutions are a big, like, topic-y thing to discuss. Did everything break on my end? Hey!
There we go.
There we go.
It broke for a second. I think it's got to be something with internet or something. I don't know about that.
Kind of see. I mean, we had camera, but like no audio.
And the thing is, like, there have been times that I've had some stuff in the background that I think could, like, eat up some of my memory and stuff, but right now, I have nothing. You know, like, so that's another thing, is it's just OBS and Discord. Whatever. I don't know. The jump was weird.
It's very.
We didn't drop any frames, though. It was just, like, a little, like, jump. Anyway, I was saying, and then we'll talk about, like, tabletop evolution. Let me throw this docket in a chat or something. I don't know. That was spelled with a V.
Don't spell it with a V.
How are you folks doing today? Are you doing well? I'm doing insane.
I'm alright. I exist to some capacity today, which is better than usual.
I watched a good buddy do a world building stream yesterday. And as they were going through all the different, like, kingdoms and alliances and stuff, it made me realize, oh no, I did my world stupidly. I feel dumb now. So, but it was fun. I had a good time.
It's fun.
Just make everything up on the fly and forget to write it down. It's alright.
I'll just have some kind of crazy, weird thing happen and fix it all in post.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you do with all games.
Don't look at the buttholes.
Yeah, no, they're not there.
They don't exist.
No buttholes. Anyway, so yeah, why don't we talk D&D? Because there's a couple of things. First thing, Candlekeep Mysteries is out. Neat. So, Candlekeep Mysteries, I think, is a little better than most of... Well, I can't say it's better. That's the thing, is, like, I wanted to say better at first. Different from a lot of their other anthology packs. This is, most of their anthology packs, how many adventures do you think they have in those?
Salt Mire, I know, doesn't have that many.
Yeah. This has 17 adventures from levels 1 to 16. 17! Which, unless this book is huge, they tend to be pretty short, standalone little adventures.
We'll find the
So,
page
like,
count of this book.
One-shots?
Like,
I think they are
one-shots.
one-shots.
Yes.
It is 224 pages long.
Mm-hmm.
To, like, average length for a D&D book.
Yeah.
Well, if you take 10 pages, if you have 10 pages per adventure, that'd be 170 pages just for the adventures.
Yeah. I mean, it means that some of the adventures could be a little bigger than others. And there's probably going to be, like, a little space for introductions, maybe character options. They may or may not have, like, a bestiary with a few creatures in it, things like that, you know. They usually have some other fluff in the books, you know. beyond just the adventures. Not always.
Some of the little one-shot things I had looked at, and I sent Momo a bunch of them. Like a link to a bunch of them.
Yeah, there's like a Patreon thing.
Yeah, they're like 2 to 5 pages usually for the one-shots.
Yeah.
So if there's like important NPCs or something, they might have stat blocks or like relevant plot, which could take up a page or 2.
So I feel like these are maybe not necessarily one-shots, but they're maybe like short set campaigns, like 2 or 3, because like a lot of the adventures, like if you're talking about like pages per session,
I will interject. I'm on the Amazon page right now. They are all standalone little adventures.
Yeah. Okay. So the extra pages could just be extra floor.
Yeah,
extra
floor.
So it could be like maps, NPCs, things like that.
But like lore.
Lore
like
stuff. Yeah.
Exposition.
So again, like, I think the way that Wizards does it, they're not going to call them one-shots because they're not aiming for one-shots. They're keeping them as short adventures that you might do in, I don't know, maybe if you're really efficient, 1 adventure. If you're not, maybe 2 or 3, you know? It still would probably not be a lot of sessions to finish it up. Again, it also depends on how long your sessions are.
How much roleplay you have makes a huge difference.
Oh, yeah. I'm curious, because they are levels 1 to 16, how many of them can you have in a row, like as like a series of adventures that your characters can go on?
I could see a way to do it, like, because they're all mystery themed, so you could be like starting at like a detective agency or private investigator.
No.
Game.
You're the Scooby-Doo gang. You're the D&D Scooby-Doo gang. Yeah.
There we go. Where's the dog people?
Child detective.
Someone has to have an animal companion that's like a wolf or something.
Talking dog.
It's a talking wolf. It's like Ruby. It's like Woofy woo.
There we go. Yeah.
Oh,
perfect.
No.
Woofy Doo, what are you up to? I was eating this rabbit. Rah! It's like screeching or something.
Oh god.
Oh, shaking around its mouth. Blood flies everywhere. Well, didn't they just release? You talked about it on the show. There's like a free companions adventure thing where you'd have anthropomorphic creatures or something.
Yes, they did.
It's been on Roll20. Like, please buy it, and I'm like, I don't have any money. Roll20. I'm sorry.
I would say the one interesting thing about Candlekeep Mysteries is like it's entirely written by dungeon masters.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah,
because they've got. I mean. They've got Christopher Perkins. He obviously works, but he's a dungeon master. Mark Hulmes is there as well. He's written one. A few other names I don't really recognize. I don't watch a lot of D&D.
Oh man, me and Joe had Amy Vorpal on. She was nice to talk to. Maybe I should reach out to her again, just about this kind of thing. But you know, I don't reach out to anybody lately for a little bit. So, but no, I think we had her on because she did. She and someone else as a team wrote like songs that were supposed to be more lyrical for like D&D and stuff.
Oh, nice.
You get a lot of like instrumental music tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
just listen to Blackmore's Night.
I mean,
yeah. There you go.
Just not gonna lie, they in a server I played on that was a D&D game. They legit had scripts working, or if you went into like the bar, you could be like, hey, and you talk to one of the like a waitress, or like you talk to someone who was next to where like the band was, and you could ask for songs and it would play like very D&D themed songs.
That is really cool.
It was really cool, but yeah, there's internet and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there's some pretty cool things you can do with that. Yeah, Candlekeep Mysteries, I feel like I don't hate any of their anthology sets they do. I don't do a lot of them, but you know.
I mean, even Ghosts of Salt Marsh or whatever, it's not bad. It's like alright. But it's hard to fit those specific ones into like adventures, like pre-existing like long campaigns with it, they're there.
But like for
If you
short
want
campaigns.
if you want like you're in between big quests, go look at this haunted house or something.
Oh, haunted house? What page is that on? I would never put you guys in a haunted house. There's no
Go
ghosts.
to this haunted bathhouse.
Yeah, go to this haunted bathhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Ruin someone's vacation.
And their vacation was already ruined by existing in this world.
Look, it was just an invisible monster. Ghosts aren't real. All of you were fooled.
We have fun.
Nice.
But yeah, on the actual topic, I think it's cool. I'd be down for playing some.
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool. Like, I don't know what adventures all exist in here because I don't own the book yet, and I can't find a PDF because it's still a very new book.
Yeah.
But I like the ideas. I like the idea of these little adventures being levels 1 to 16.
I also feel like this is going to be one of those ones that each of the adventures is, because they are written by different people, there's going to be variety. Like, and I can't say that there's going to be bad ones, but there might be ones which are worse, and that also can be kind of subjective to your team, you know, and your people.
I would phrase it as more there might be some that have they stand out more as opposed to like this one is bad. Yeah. There are those, you know, it also depends on your players too, right?
Yeah, but that's why I'm trying to say, like, it's hard to say that a written adventure is bad, because even the worst written adventure,
English,
a good DM can make it work. You know, that's one of those things about a good DM. I think you can do is you learn to work with what you have. And, you know. So, I don't think there's necessarily... I think there are adventures that can be written in such a way. And I'm pretty sure in this book you're probably not going to get those because the curation of Wizards is probably a lot better than, let's say, someone that's self-publishing on Roll20. So, I'm going to guess that none of them will have that issue, but the issue of making it much more difficult to play and a lot less information than was probably needed, and, like, you know, poor writing. Because poor writing could still slip into here.
Yeah,
because
like you can't catch everything.
Yeah. I'd be interested to see it.
I would too. But that brings us to the other D&D thing I wanted to talk about, because this is something that wasn't even on my radar till I went to check the D&D website today to see if what kind of new was. Because I usually check, like, you know, last week I checked to get the Unearthed Arcana news. And they've got it front and standard. Dark Alliance, the game. And I'm like, I didn't know this existed until now.
Yeah, I learned about this like 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, I think someone linked a trailer of it at one time, and as soon as I saw who you were playing as, I'm like, why would you bring this back? It was fine. Leave it alone. We were past that freaking
But no,
age.
you need Drits and Friends.
No.
Drits and Friends assemble.
I mean, like watching this gameplay trailer, the gameplay looks fine.
Yeah,
I guess. Like it's a video game.
But Dritz is so, like, cringy.
Yeah.
He's been memed to death. Just leave it alone, Wizards.
No.
We were doing just fine without him.
We have no new material, only old characters.
So,
but yeah, I mean, it looks fine, I guess.
It's an action RPG brawler.
I don't know if I'll play it.
Best way to describe it. I was not reassured with this article that says Dark Alliance is a D&D brawler, but feels a bit like Gears of War, and I'm like, no.
That sounds really bad.
That doesn't sound great.
No.
I mean, I like Gears of War, but why?
That is like the opposite of D&D.
Yeah.
Like, Gears of War works because it's guns and big, beefy,
well,
idiot
that's
men.
Polygon that said that. So
that's
Polygon.
I mean, like
comparison.
the games industry loves to compare things to every other game. There's like a billion articles that blank is the blank of Dark Souls.
I mean, Dark Souls would be better than Gears of War comparison.
No. Dark Souls is the Dark Souls of Dark Souls.
Yeah, there we go.
No, you have to do Demon Souls is the Dark Souls of Bloodborne.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, it's just like Skyrim but with guns.
So they said there's 21 missions. A group of characters would take 20-25 minutes each. Twice as long if you explore side quests and not just minutes. Solo players can do it, but it takes longer. That's the information they have, and it's Dritz, the Ranger Canterbury, the Barbarian Wolfgar, or the Dwarf Buenar. Granted, look, the only characters I know about are Dritz and Wolfgar, really.
I only know about Dritz comics. I never read the.
I
have not read any.
I've read one book in that book series, and it was okay from what I remember, but it is a book based on D&D.
I have to thank D&D Minis for teaching me about Wolfgar, because in the same set that they had Dritz as a rare, they had Wolfgar as he might have been rare too, but I just ended up with a billion more of him than Dritz, so that's why I remember him, because he was still unique. And in the old D&D miniatures game, unique characters, you could only have one in your warband. So I could only have one Wolfgar and Dritz in my warband, but I had a billion of Wolfgars just in case. I had backups.
Just in case.
Yeah.
But that's why I remember his existence. I probably should know too, because I think I have the... I have like the Legend of Dritz board game too, like the Castle Ravenloft one.
Stop finding your nerd card.
Look, the only one I don't have is the big dragon one in the middle, because another one of my friends bought that one, and I was like, I guess I don't need to get that one. Of the 3 4th edition board games. Which,
oh no, 4th edition.
they were. Their characters in those were based on 4th edition, and I'm like, this is the perfect way to play 4th edition. It's just a board game.
Yeah, I guess that's better than a tabletop version of it. Oh, we talked about that last week.
We did talk about that. So I mean, it's neat. Again, it's like one of those things that I didn't know about until recently, and it's coming out in June.
It seems like it's targeted at really old people, like people in their like late 30s to 40s, because the people that play 5e, they don't have any idea who Dritz is. They don't know that he's got a book series. They don't know about his friggin' quote unquote adventures. I mean, I don't know about his adventuring friends.
There might be a few, maybe a few,
like,
I'd say, but not
really into like, I guess, the lore of D&D for whatever.
Yeah,
reason
they'd have to be
would
like
know.
hardcore nerds.
Yeah, which you probably have a few of, but not that many. That would really dive into it.
It's a pretty small market to be advertising like an old character idea. That's just my take on it.
Well, I agree. I feel like a game like this, it doesn't matter that it's Dritz, though, in a way.
Probably not.
Yeah, you could like have probably anyone. And
well, that too.
Still be the same game.
Mm-hmm. I feel like they just went for a character because they
Who's
could use
the
pre-existing
character
lore.
People maybe know this guy, alright.
Yeah.
You know, I think a better way to do it would be to make it where it's you making a character and then add these other people from the other stories and be like, you're the hero now and you can adventure with Dritz. Because, like, people that know of that are like, hell yeah. And people who don't know of that are like, oh, okay, so I can be the hero. And then there's these other dudes.
Yeah.
Because people like making their own characters. It's why when you have a game that already has a pre-generated character with their own history and backstory, unless it's really, really well written, people don't like it as much as you making your own character, because you have more attachment to your own character than Billy Bob Steven, the 69th adventurer.
But that would require more work.
That means you have to make a character creator, and
it does.
I mean, you could keep it relatively simple. Like, I could be honest. You could do like I think it's a little simpler. But like, if you think like Dark Souls character creator, you choose a basic class, and that's what you start as, and then you evolve into things. Rather, for something like this, that's not going to be like Dark Souls. You could just have it like you choose a class. Here's the basic build for that class. You can customize your character. And maybe there's a couple of character options for the order that you take special abilities or something in. Call it a day.
There's also the point of that we live in a modern age, and you can literally go to a store and buy a character creator and just plug it into your game as a third-party software.
Yep.
You don't even have to make it yourself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also that aspect.
I mean, I watched the trailer and I read up on this a little bit. The trailer looked neat. The one thing that I thought was weird was the beholder had like a predator mouth or something.
Yeah.
That's a little weird.
Yeah, that was a little weird. I'm like, that's not what I really thought about it for any of the other art ever for Beholder.
No,
I can't like completely argue with it because again, it's like there's a lot of
interpretations.
Yeah.
Of monsters.
Yeah. But I mean, like, the one thing I felt like is like I looked at that and I'm like, are you fighting just in like a single arena, or is there like levels to explore? What's going on here? Because every time it looked like they were fighting in like a big old circle arena or something.
Welcome to modern day video game trailers.
Yeah. But it tells you nothing.
Predator mouse and not my beholder. There's a slumbreaker in our chat.
Hi, Umber. Welcome to chat.
Like, from at least the look of the gameplay trailer, it looks like a third-person game. I might be slightly more into it if it was like isometric instead.
Yeah, I mean,
Kind of classic.
Yeah.
like I feel like the style they were going for is maybe a little bit like Diablo-y, but maybe not. You know, that kind of like style of combat though, rather than like the grind of it. I feel like it's a simplified version of that kind of thing.
I don't know. According to Polygon, it's like Gears of War.
Is it because it's a third-person game that you look over the shoulder and there's action in it? That's exactly like Gears of War.
That's probably why. That is probably exactly why.
I can't wait to see Drizzt chainsaw, motherfucker.
I mean, if Dritz pulls out a chainsaw and chainsaws someone, I kind of might be down for that one. Then they're referencing Gamers 2, which
Yeah,
I mean,
there we go.
then it's kind of circled back in on itself and it explodes.
So it's just Doom Guy with Dritz's body.
Yeah, that's it. That's the game. You sold me on it.
I mean, I'm sorry. That would actually be funny if it was basically just Doom or actually Gears of War, but you know, you just play as characters. That'd be fun. Yeah, that'd be more of a joke, but everyone's in on the joke.
Yes.
As
Now,
opposed to whatever this is. We'll see.
listen to Polygon's bad takes about useless drinking bleach.
I mean, it's true.
Bleach.
Now the game
Delicious.
is $40, which it might be worth that. I don't know.
Cheaper than most games nowadays. So...
It's true, but they also.
But you know why it's cheaper? It's because it's not very long.
And it has probably a ton of DLC.
Well, I mean,
DLC me, baby.
For $20 more, you get the bonus of the Lich Weapon set and Echoes of Blood War expansion content.
Oh, hell yeah.
DLC.
Give me more DLC, please. I love spending more than $100 on a video game.
Yes,
I don't know why, it's like, they're like Beholder Weapon set, Lich Weapon set. I'm like, why are these things that I would care about? Why do
because
I need
they are exclusive and you must own everything.
They're exclusive and...
Well, the standard edition comes with the Beholder one for free.
They need a way to get you to buy a more expensive version because that's just how the game industry is. They can't put it in the game for free.
Too much work.
They worked hard on it, apparently.
They worked hard on something that...
Someone spent like several hours in front of a computer quickly designing this weapon. You need to pay top dollar for that.
Because it really is. It's just skins. Like the basic's already there. I mean, it's really what it is. Like you've got the object. Oh god.
I'll allow it.
Why was that not allowed? Nightbot. Why was that not allowed? Why? Fetish? Really? That's the word you wanted to fight against? Oh, Nightbot. Anyway, so this is the thing. This is the thing that exists that we talked about. Oh, God. Yeah, so I mean, I guess if this is like your type of game, great.
That chicken has a gun.
That chicken does have a gun. If you're missing it, our chat has a chicken with a gun. Yeah,
Best $5 I've ever spent.
It's even bot gun. It's the correct like art and everything. It's not just two things that mesh well together. It was made to do this. Twitch chat is the best chat.
Oh, I forgot. Like sometimes, like I get weird gift subs, and I have them in here. I was like looking through my
I
emotes.
got a gift sub to someone I've never even heard of the other day.
I stopped by briefly to see Rob's stream because he was like doing code names, and I like code names. And I saw Jess was in chat, and I didn't say anything, and I was there for like maybe 5 minutes. And then I'm like, before I leave, I'm like, you have a gift sub, and I'm like, that took no time. I was there for like 5 minutes.
Good times.
Good times. It's nice to get. I'm okay with the gift sub, but it's just like the when they give them the random ones, it's just so weird that like like you can be there for no time and just be like, they have a gift sub, or like I don't know. Anyway, so let's move on. Let's move on from the insanity that is this D&D mess, and I'm just gonna say about Dark Alliances. I guess maybe around the time it comes out, maybe I'll talk about it again because it is a D&D based video game.
For whatever that's worth.
That
is $40.
Yeah, it might not be actually worth that.
The price of a D&D book.
I could get 10 coffees from Starbucks for the price of that game.
That's expensive.
That's Starbucks though.
It is. Starbucks is expensive. Actually, there's tax, so it's probably more like 8 coffees.
Look,
you get a lot
but
more
still,
if you just go to get the
I have
McDonald's
discovered
coffee.
if I get takeout at one place,
coffee.
I get an iced tea for 99 cents. And yes, granted, it's probably worse iced tea or equivalent to the iced tea I can buy in a store. But there's just something about buying an iced tea from someplace for 99 cents. That's the fresh brewed stuff. They brewed it their own, and you had less work to it. And I'm like, I just want that sometimes.
I only drink dollar coffee from McDonald's.
I don't drink black coffee, though. Therefore, it's automatically more expensive. Yeah.
I'm an iced tea guy. We're hot tea.
Anyway, the next thing.
Star Trek
move
shit.
us on.
Star Trek shit. So we got 2 things about here. First off, we have a free quick start that they already had in Star Trek Adventures, but there's a new one. It's for if you want to play Klingons.
Oh, hell yeah. I wonder why they released that.
Because they had the Klingon book. Yeah.
Oh, what Klingon book? Oh, man.
Yeah, no, it was the weird thing of, like, it took me forever, which, this is a weird thing that I don't have a copy of the Klingon book yet. I might get one at some point in time. But the fact is, the maps that they have, the only place that tells you on the Star Trek Adventures map where the fuck Gorn space is the Klingon adventure book, because apparently Gorn space is like below Klingon space and like at the edge of it, where like the normal maps don't show that area where like going towards the edge of the galaxy, like Federation space and Klingon space kind of peter off, so that they're still like kind of next to each other. They don't include that on the fucking maps.
Just go buy Stellaris and then download the Star Trek mod, which is a total overhaul of the game. Play on the largest map setting, and then boom, there you go. Just play for a little bit, and then you'll have the complete alpha, beta, gamma, omega sectors all shown to you.
Yeah, and have like a billion. Like, what races do you want? I don't know. Something.
All of them.
All of them.
It's all of them. That game is so ridiculous when it's modded that hard.
Yeah, I'm sure. What was it? My one mod. Sidetrack because we will be talking about Stellaris. My one Stellaris run that I modded, I added like 50 mods in, and it didn't work very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the more you mod it, the more broken it is.
I learned that the hard way. I just threw everything that looked neat in there.
No, you can't do that.
I had a friend who was like, hey, do you want to play Stellaris? And then I'm like, sure. You're download this mod pack, and it was like 100 mods. I'm like, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Hey,
I'm
Momo, do you want to play Stellaris?
No.
I promise I don't play very heavily modded anymore because of those exact reasons.
I get
anyway.
I get halfway through Stellaris and then stop because I'm bored.
Star Trek adventure style.
Star Trek.
So it's a quick start guide for the Klingon experience, as they call it. I mean, I'll say that, you know, it's probably a different experience in a way, but it's also like, how different... It's like one of those weird things about, like,
Let's compare it to D&D.
D&D, it can't compare. Like if you say I make a standard D&D character, great. The setting I put it in makes difference for the characters. The characters are always going to act in a general certain way. You're going to adventure, you're going to kill like monsters or NPCs, and then you're going to gather treasure. You know, there's like a standard gameplay loop. I think the thing about these two things is standard Star Trek Adventures has its unique game loop, and I'm fairly certain the Klingon Adventures like version of it has an entirely different gameplay loop.
It's like playing good characters versus evil characters.
I mean, a little bit, I would say. I think this one, you're not necessarily like, you're not evil, but it's like,
you're not good.
No, you're warrior people. So I mean, you're gonna do warrior stuff a lot more than, let's say, it's kind of hard.
Starfleet and their diplomacy.
Yeah, Starfleet were kind of diplomacy explorers, while I mean, like, Klingons can kind of be explorers, but they're always warriors too. You know, it's like you're a warrior and maybe some of this.
Yeah,
because they do have like
warrior first.
Yeah, they do have like science vessels too. They're like, but they're like, you know, they probably have like the warrior captain that's be like in charge. That's be like, all right, weakling scientists, you're not quite as great a warrior as any of the true Klingon warriors, but you're here anyway. We will learn things in the name of the Empire. Better do it right. I'm going to go drinking and eating my gach.
I mean, yeah, what is it? The Klingon scientists are like seen as like the lowest of the low. I'm like, well, the only reason you exist is because you help make better weapons. Otherwise, we wouldn't need you. And it's like, wow, you guys are rude.
I mean, they respect the doctors a lot more because you're like, you've rebuilt my warrior body just as good as new, so I may fight even better. And like, that is my purpose, to make sure your body can fight more, brethren.
Yeah, I mean, even they're a little bit. They're probably above scientists, but
yeah, no.
Yeah.
What about like
Klingons are weird?
What about like the Klingon tailor? Like, where does he fit in? I have made you your perfect shirt for fighting in.
Maybe if it was armor, if they still wore armor. He'd be more of a smith, and it's like, you are the finest smith around. Your armor, it can reach so many places. There's kept me alive to fight another day.
From like Star Trek stuff that I've seen, there are certain groups that I know that are really that are still like really well liked. Like, apparently like artists are enjoyed because they put on display like the warrior culture and stuff, you know.
Yeah, Klingon opera I think is a big thing.
Yeah, but also like there was the one thing that like I think it was DS9 that had like this well-respected like it only showed up in like 1 or 2 episodes, but it was like a Klingon chef, and I'm like, yeah, Klingons like their food too, you know. Granted, like, you know, raw worms and stuff too, but they've got like other stuff that are like, you know, cooked in here. They've got mixtures of different types of food.
If you want to fight in the nude, you play Gorn.
Goran only was missing his sleeves, thank you, because his guns were too big for his sleeves. The doctor just doesn't have sleeves.
My shirt to fight you.
Well, I mean, I'm still like the super strong doctor. I'm like, these sleeves were not important for medicine.
Swole doctor.
That's what I'm playing. I'm playing the small doctor.
You're like Arnold Schwarzenegger if he was a lizard and also a doctor. I'm going to heal you now, girly man.
You are small and weak. You mammalian ways will not save you. That is why my reptilian ways will keep you alive.
No, you gotta throw in a talk to the hand from Terminator 3.
Oh, no.
Talk to the hand. You do not need medical attention. Those broken bones and bruises will make you feel better in the morning.
Now I'm thinking of Kindergarten Cop.
I was going Batman Forever with take 2 of these and call me in the morning. Or whatever that Batman and Robin. I don't know.
There is no bathroom now. Switch your lining.
I don't know why my character on Star Trek has become Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Good. It's perfect.
So yeah, Klingons. They're weird.
Klingon adventures. Yes, it's a thing that exists, and it's a very different kind of storyline. Definitely. I would be interested to do that kind of adventure. Like, it's very easy to say you could do it in, like, Kirk's era or the earlier eras where the Klingons were much more aggressive and maybe even at odds with the Federation. But what about doing it, like, in, like, the next-gen era or post-DS9 era? Those would be interesting to play in because there is still, like, that antagonism and, the need for warriors and stuff, but there's also that, like,
Dominion War.
The Dominion War, there were some odds and ends that had like come up over years with the Klingon Empire. The Dominion War got rid of those all again. They united the Federation and Klingons more than they had been for a long time. I would say, because even the Next Generation era, you could tell that there was tensions with the Klingon Empire still. So it's interesting to look at that. And granted, the Klingon Empire is going to always be the Klingon Empire. I never think they're going to necessarily join the Federation, but reaffirming that we had this epic war across the entire, Alpha and Beta quadrants, and like, united and defeated these enemies together, and they proved to be great allies. That's the story that Klingons like and remember for generations to come. So anyway.
Indeed. Wasn't there another thing besides the starter guide?
There was technically another thing. They're putting out these mission briefs now.
One shots?
I feel that's like kind of what they are.
What is it with one shots all of a sudden?
Yeah.
It's an easy way to get people into a system.
Okay, so there's a set of them that are basically the early days of the Federation, which are kind of interesting, which they just released, which are, I would guess, would be like just after the Enterprise series. So it's like 2161 early Federation, and they've got these like little briefs of like one shots, or I guess in this case, it's like the thing about Star Trek is it's better for one shots in a way, because if you think about it, it's like having a single episode of the show. Maybe it connects to an overall storyline a little bit, but it also might be a little bit of its own self-contained thing, like Voyager and Next Gen did a lot of episodes where it's just like something happens, they resolve it, call it a day. Like DS9 had a few more of that, like something happens, they resolve it. This little thing that happened during the episode relates to the big overall story, that's going on. They did a lot more of that.
They did a really good job of they had episode arcs, season arcs, and what were the other ones?
Show arcs, I guess we could call them.
Yeah, because it was actually someone did a little breakdown, and where it's like these are all connected, and then between this 2 series, these things are connected, and then there's this overall thing that's happening throughout the lifetime of the show, and I always thought that they did a really good job with that. It's a little bit better in later seasons as far as Next Generation goes, which is my personal favorite because I'm old.
Yeah, that's my favorite as well.
DS9, I mean, my biggest problem with DS9 is just the fact that everything had to be actiony and explode.
That's just kind of how TV was going, though.
Yeah, but it's like, here's all this thing where these battles or these ships are huge and massive and strong, and it was more about, like, making it so they didn't want to die, and so you just kind of had to like have this posture and firepower to back it up where they would stand down, as opposed to just like, just blow it up now. It's like, okay. But I mean, they still told a good story overall, I think.
That's the thing about Star Trek is, I don't know if I could call I have a favorite series, other than the original series has really big ups and downs.
Yes.
It's the one that I can call out, like, there's some pretty good episodes. There's some pretty awful episodes. Like, I don't know if they're the most awful, but they stand out as the most awful. Like the Spock's Brain episode. I watched that. I was worse for watching that.
You'd have to have a guide, original series guide. Watch these ones. Don't care about the ones in between them. You just feel free to skip them. And then if you really liked it, now that you've watched all the A+ episodes, then go to like the B episodes. And if you're still sold on the series, then you get to the C ones. And if you haven't destroyed your brain yet, then you watch the rest of the series, which is just not great.
Let's remote control Spock's body in order to get his brain back.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, it's one of those things. It's a show from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, it's very old.
Yeah, so it's really hard to compare with modern day, not, I was going to say television, but just storytelling in general.
Well, again, like, it's different type of storytelling. It's harder to, like, say, like, but you can tell, like, there's some really good episodes. Like, I think, like, the original Tribble episode, that's a really good classic episode, That's good storytelling, good kind of thing. Like, I think it's just that, like, and I know this is, like, one of those things is, like, second season, they had less time to work on scripts, and they cut the budget a little bit from the first season. I remembered hearing about that. So, like, when they have the Spock's Brain episode in season 2, I'm like, I understand to a degree where this came from. You had less money, less time to work on it, but it's still really bad.
Yeah, but in, like, with TV, sometimes you just have to push something out to keep.
That is the unfortunate thing about television.
Yeah.
Now,
it doesn't. I don't know how much it happened with Star Trek now because I don't watch Picard or Discovery. So
I mean,
me either.
Joe swears by season 3 of Discovery. I fought through season 1, and there were some okay things about it and some terrible things about it. I didn't know if I wanted to fight through season 2. Like, the season 3 does seem more interesting, but it's sort of like, I have to fight through 2 seasons to get to it.
I got, like, a couple episodes into the first season and just never continued after that.
Picard...
So go...
I have to... like, side thing. Like, just... Okay. Picard, I've got to finish up at some point in time. I got through most of the episodes. I just keep forgetting to finish the last episodes. But getting back to it, like... So these are set, like, post-Enterprise. Enterprise, I kind of rank that technically above the original series. Tied with the original series, I'd say, because there was some good episodes I liked, and then there's some terrible episodes too. So that I'll give it. Like the final episode of Enterprise could have been good. Could have been good. They screwed the pooch.
Yeah.
Like horribly. I think my camera's a little high. Or I'm just leaning back.
No, it's just because you like to lean back and disappear off the camera.
Yeah. You just slowly sink further and further till you're gone.
Like it's like my energy leaves me as, like, we're talking about, like, Spock's Brain episode, and I just have to, like, lean back.
It's the appropriate reaction.
It's just like
it is.
I mean, so that time period, which is post-Enterprise, before any of the original series, I don't think that's a bad time period to explore. That was one of the things I would have liked, because that's what they would have done if they did more Enterprise, which would have been neat. Like, one of the things they said they would have done with the original, like the Romulan Wars with the Romulans, which would have been neat. That's true. I'm not going to argue with that one. But yeah, no. The little mission briefs that I guess are, like, setups for adventures, I don't think that's a bad idea. And I'm the thing about this one, at least the Growing Pains one is free. I should take it.
That's always nice.
Free is all right.
I should just get this now because I can.
You should.
Like,
send it to your GM.
I've never done the Star Trek tabletop stuff. That could be a way for me to get into it eventually, is these little one-shot kind of things.
It's a different system. And I don't say that in, like, it's bad. It's just it's so different than like everything else. Like even if you look at like Cult of Cthulhu, right? Which
Mhm.
I'd probably only play like the modified version because it's just too dark and depressing. That one kind of makes sense because it's like, oh, you roll a d100 and then you compare it against your skill, and depending on where it lands, is like a success or a fail or critical success, etc., etc. This one, I mean, I've not DM'd it, and I've not dug into the rule book. Basically, I've been a player exclusively, but it's always like, oh, it's a difficulty of this, and then you roll these things, and they make a pool, and then it's that affects. It's weird. So I don't know.
To give an explanation of Star Trek Adventures, just a basic one, it's the 2d20 system that Mendofius uses, where the idea is you add two stats together, and that's your target number you want to roll equal to or below. And those two stats are adding up towards 20. And you can get multiple hits. And then they have a system for buying extra dice if you need extra dice or something. Standard DC is 1, so you can be rolling 2 dice against 1, but you can get higher DCs. Like in the Star Trek Adventures, they have a momentum where you can gain this pool that everybody shares that can be spent on stuff like extra dice. And then you also have threat, which the game master can spend screw you over in ways. Which I think Josh does a very good job of, doing that kind of thing. So, it's an interesting system, the Star Trek Adventure system. I don't mind it. It feels very good for Star Trek, at least the way that I know Josh has run it, and I feel like I've done an okay job with my 2 times running it, but I've also reflected on you need people that either know Star Trek to a degree or are easy to understand the concepts behind it. Like, you have to be able to explain to them very easily because again, like, Star Trek, like, I can describe the universe. It's a socialist universe, where everybody does things just because they feel like it, and and Starfleet in the Federation is their kind of both exploration and military branch, meaning that you might be an explorer, a scientist, or something like that, but you're gonna have like a military doctrine and like discipline. So, and that's a thing to like think about like very much. Is like, yeah, I'm an explorer, I'm a scientist, but I have this training in me that is very like militaristic almost in the way it's done. So
organized.
It's heavily organized, yeah. I like the Star Trek Adventures game. I'm glad they're continuing to do new and interesting stuff for it, like the Klingon stuff. That's cool because it's a very different way of playing, set in the same world universe. I would like to maybe see some more things like that. I don't know which ones you could do as easy. Like, Klingons are very popular. That's the other popular and then Starfleet.
Romulans.
A Romulan one would be interesting. I think that would probably be the next one, because that would be more. That could be either like that could be soldiers or spies a lot more, because there's like
spies, intrigue.
Yeah, that's a lot more Romulans, like intrigue level of things, So that might be interesting to do. I think those are like the 3 big ones that are very easy to do.
Those are the big ones. Because you can't really be like, Vulcans, because Vulcans are just a part of the Federation, basically.
Yeah.
I think, like, I don't have much of an opinion on this, mostly because I'm not that big a Star Trek person. I've seen both of the series. I've enjoyed what I've watched. I just never really got that into it.
This is highly understandable.
Yeah. I played Star Trek Online for many, many, many years.
I still go back and watch Next Generation and such, but I never really got that deep into, like, the actual overarching stories and lore.
I'm a big lore guy, so anything I get into, I kind of go into lore for. So, like,
I'm kind of in the middle, because I find some of the lore interesting, but I don't, like, read books that are outside of the TV shows and stuff.
Yeah.
Me, it's mostly, like, occasionally Googling stuff. rather like using wikis. They like give you some information because Memory Alpha is pretty good for like the basic information.
Yes.
Because that's the canon stuff in Memory Alpha.
Canon.
So, yes, Star Trek Adventures. It's got some stuff. Let's
Stuffy
talk.
stuff.
Let's talk about a Kickstarter thing. There's a Stellaris.
Boy, it exists.
Stellaris Infinity League is up on Kickstarter.
It's a thing.
I don't know why it's a thing, because that game is so ridiculous.
Your buy-in price is $110.
They say it's a 2-hour 4X board game for 2 to 4 players, 2 to 6 players with Empire's expansion.
More like 2 hours to set up. Freaking Stellaris.
I'm looking at this game board picture that they have. I think you'd need like at least an hour of explaining what any of this shit is.
I have not heard about it until just today.
I'll link the
it's not a full like Stellaris experience. I agree with Umber. You have to take a look at it. It's not going to be like the full world.
I'm looking at it just at a glance. It looks a little bit like I need a lot explained to me, but
yes,
that will obviously I don't really factor that into the playtime.
You design and play a species and an empire that traits, ethics, and civics. Let's see. You expand your civilization over multiple games. Over multiple games, they say. Gaining access to new mechanics as you develop your technology and culture. Rules start simple but grow deep as you play. Play through the
this
same
just
large
melting my brain just looking.
Yeah, I'm looking at this like the card, the picture that starts with infinite replayability. I'm looking at that, and my brain is just shutting off.
Yeah, same here. Exactly the same spot. I saw that. I'm like, I don't.
What?
I mean, I can tell you what every single one of these icons mean.
Yeah.
But besides like one or two, like this is probably like some kind of physics science. This is social science. That is engineering science. That's droids.
That's red lasers.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you what all of these are. This one, I don't think that's red lasers. I think that's the mining beam.
Oh, that might be the mining beam.
Yeah, I can tell you what all these icons are because I've played thousands of hours in Stellaris. This is kelp for ocean planets, but it's like a board game.
This is some. Here's some of the. Here's the statement that kind of loses me a little bit, and I'm gonna tell you this one is. So players can join and leave the galaxy freely, letting you play with any number of friends. No.
Surprise interruption, because I am not brooking any of this nonsense. This is not happening.
All right. You're here, Umber. What are you talking about? You're gonna join this entire thing.
I have to. There is some serious slander going on here, and I will not stand for it. First of all,
just melts.
Y'all are coming at this from the wrong point of view. This game clearly is not for everybody. Have you ever played, either of you or any of the three of you, played the Dark Souls board game?
No.
I have not, but I saw some people play it.
All right. Board games, and Candace, I'm sure will be able to agree with this. Board games could loosely be broken up into 2 or 3 categories. Games that are fairly quick to learn, fairly quick to run. You get in with a couple friends, play them for, 20, 30, 40 minutes. That's it. It's done. Over. Mm-hmm. Simple. Just go for it. They're more like party games. Then you got another category, a little bit longer, maybe hour, 2-hour games, a little more complicated. But there are board games, Dark Souls board game being one of them, and this clearly being another, that are designed to be played multiple times for multiple hours. And they are good if it is the type of game you want to play. And this is where I have an issue with what's being said so far. Like, from the way you guys are discussing it, probably not the game for you guys. And that's fair, because different tastes for different people. But for people who do like more in-depth board games, what I've seen of this, the reviews I've seen of it, and the little hints here and there, and it's been covered by a couple different people online, it looks bloody fantastic if this is the type of board game you want. It is complicated, it's in-depth, and you can easily play it for 2 hours, put it down, pick it up again, and keep going with that same game. Which, to me, is awesome.
All right.
Well, I do know that there are some of the board games that are designed to be like, yeah, this takes a while to set up, and then you can play it for like a week or a month because it's designed to be played that way.
Exactly. And that's what this is. It's designed for people who want this style of game. And for those people, myself being one of them included, because I fucking love the Dark Souls board game, and I cannot get people to play it because most people don't want to play it because it takes time to. The thing is, these games are board games that require time to learn. The people involved need to be willing and invested to play it and learn it, and that is the main problem. A lot of people don't want to, but that doesn't make it a bad game, and I feel like that's the important thing to take note of. Just because it's not for everyone doesn't automatically make it bad.
I don't think any of us were feeling like it was a bad game.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
the
think
thing.
it's
No.
bad. I just like walls of text melt my brain. So I would have preferred a video on here to explain
Fair.
it.
And some of the concepts, I feel like it's less that it makes me feel like it's a bad game, and more like I'm a suspect of how good they work. Because it sounds like you have an expanding empire, so like, okay, people can leave and join freely. Great. Also, it does talk about abandoning your old empire and starting a new one, and having your old one become a fallen empire controlled by the game. I'm like, alright, those are interesting, but like, I feel like I'm interested in how those mechanics would work in the game, because I know in a game of like Stellaris, if something like that would happen, it would be bad.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
that's the thing, is I'm interested in how they make it work in the board game.
Mm-hmm. Which is fair. Admittedly, we haven't seen a ton
Yeah, that's what I
of
would.
detail there.
That's what I would need to sell me on this, is seeing it either fully explained or someone play it.
But my main input here is that people had a lot of these same questions when the Dark Souls board game was first becoming a thing. People were like, this isn't going to work. You can't make Dark Souls a board game. How are you going to translate the bosses into the game, and how is it going to have any of the depth and just how is it going to have the same feel as Dark Souls? You can't do that. It's a board game. It's never going to match up. And it did, and it worked really well. So
Honestly,
I would
though,
agree. We haven't seen how they're going to do the Dark Souls one, or not Dark Souls, the Stellaris one yet. But I'm more than willing to give them a chance, because if they can make this as good as the Dark Souls board game is, it's going to be fucking awesome.
But I can see Dark Souls easier as a board game because it has the pseudo RPG mechanics, where this is empire building, and it's a bit more hard to
Well, you can
break that down.
You can do empire building in a board game, though.
I know they've done
Yeah.
it before, but it's just kind of like
Arguably, an empire builder is an RPG, just on a grander scale.
yeah.
And the Dark Souls one, there was a lot of things dumbed down to make it a board game, but not in a bad way. And it's probably what they'll do for this. It's not going to have the same, oh, you have all these planets and you have to manage where your citizens are and what buildings you have and how upgraded they are. A lot of that probably won't be there because it can't.
Yeah,
you don't have a
it
computer
can't,
program monitoring it and managing it for you. But all I'm saying is give it a chance.
Well, it looks like well, that's the thing, is like it would be interesting to try it out. They've got things like here, like they've got a you simultaneously planning of actions behind your screens let 6 players experience the game. Place planning markers on your explore, expand, exploit, and exopolitics board phases. And I guess how those react with other star empires is how your things grow, I'm assuming, you know, and it's sort of like the reactions to that, and then the event cards, which would probably have repercussions going on. No, the good thing is they do have plastic trays that keep your play area organized during gameplay, allow you to store your pieces in the game box between games.
I have the power of linking. I forgot. I should
Yes,
have done that.
thank you. I forgot that.
Linking.
So I think that's actually probably pretty good, that it makes it that the setup between games is pretty easy. I like that they did that, because that's one of those things that I have to complain about grand strategy games, is that it's difficult to like take down, put back up a lot of times. Things like, oh, I don't know, risk, or access and allies, or diplomacy, or Twilight Imperium, where I'm probably not going to be taking that down. I'm just going to be leaving it set up for like weeks on end when we can get our couple of hours in of gameplay or something like that.
That is one thing that they really needed, is that ability to take it down and have everything be there. So I'm glad they figured out a way to do that. The other part of it is that it does have a high cost. Obviously.
It's
like
very
100
expensive.
110.
The thing is, this
Or
is the
this
type of
big
game
of a
that
game.
generally there's going to be two groups that are buying this. It's either going to be clubs that are buying it for the club, or it's going to be groups of friends who are like, okay, we all want to play this. We're all going to chip in and get it. Similarly to the Dark Souls one. The Dark Souls one is also expensive, but it's not something you just buy to have for yourself on the off chance people want to play it with you, because odds are that's not going to happen, because it is very complex. They're both games that are going to take probably at least half an hour or more to learn. So these ones, expensive, yes, but they're meant for people who are already interested, already invested, and know that they're going to take the time. So the cost is high, but it's not meant for somebody casual, just, oh yeah, I'm just gonna walk in my local game store and, oh, that looks cool, I'll pick it up. It's not meant for that.
It's on par with that type of game. Like board games, they do go up in these kind of price ranges where you get to the more complex ones. So, like as a board game, it's not out of the realm of the price range, right? You know, it's not just like you're buying Sorry or you're buying Monopoly or whatever. No, you're buying other board games that I don't know off the top of my head, but they exist. You know, there's very complicated board games.
It's a specialized game for a certain group of people, and among those people, it'll do great.
Yeah, I will put it this way: this would not be the most expensive board game I have played.
There you go.
Played it. I played the Warhammer Quest Blackstone Fortress.
Blackstone. That's literally the one I was just going to bring up. Yes, Blackstone Fortress.
And I had a good time with it, but it is very
expensive as hell.
Fuck.
But it's got the whole thing of you're getting the models, and ideally you're painting the models as well.
And I played it. It was fun. I would play it again.
I want to play Blackstone Fortress.
It's probably on tabletop Sim.
But
I technically own tabletop Sim.
It's a fun time. But that's a different thing. We're not talking about that now. But
anyway,
this would not be the most expensive board game I've seen or played. It would probably not be the most complicated board game I have played. But just from these walls of text, it doesn't sell me personally on it, which I think is fair.
Yeah, like I gotta say, like part of me is definitely like I'd be interested in this because of my interest in Stellaris. You know, I like Stellaris a lot, and I gotta be honest. If someone asked me to try it out on Tabletop Sim, I think I would. I've been curious about trying the Dark Souls game on Tabletop Sim. It's kind of been there.
Candace, you tell me when and where, and I am there.
The thing is, it's hard for me to sit down for
I will teach you everything you need to know.
Only if I get a game of Arkham Horror in.
I don't know what that is.
Hell yeah, I'll join
It also
that.
takes for that is just a long board game. That is just a long board game.
Yeah, it is, but it's so fun.
It is another one of those, like, you have to have at least 2 hours for an Arkham Horror game.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, were we canceling Carrying Crown for a week? Or...
Oh, God, no. I mean, it's not like we've had the players to play it recently anyways.
No, we
Also, if we did have the players to play it, it's like we usually end by, like, 4, and we'd hang around till, like, 7. We could easily play a game afterwards.
That's true. That is possible.
I mean, I like how a lot of their stretch goals are like 1 billion miniatures, so like, you know, you get
fine.
a lot. And so like for like the 170, you get a lot of extra stuff other than just the 2 expansions, because they have like, I think it looks like they're at the level to unlock space amoebas and crystalline entities.
Oh, no.
A big thing to note is that the original goal for this was $62,000 Canadian.
Yeah,
it's at 2.8 million.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It reached its goal.
Funding.
It reached its goal in the first day.
There
are a group of people that they want this.
There are 13,372 people that exactly wanted this.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I had the disposable income, it'd be stupid, because I know that the problem with this is obviously it's in-person playing.
Yeah,
there's no chance in hell I would ever get people to play this, but if I had the money, I would buy this in a heartbeat.
For me to buy it, I would need some housemates that want to play it.
If they had a digital version of it for an extra like $20 to $30 or something that you could get, or separately after the Kickstarter was over, because there's been a lot of games that have been converted to digital versions, right? If they did that, that would make it a hell of a lot easier because of, it's the world and we have the internet.
See, the only issue with that I can think of is that people are probably going to go, well, if you want to play this digitally, just play Stellaris.
Play Stellaris.
It's a different experience, though.
It is a different experience, but I have a feeling
people,
that'll
though.
be the go-to answer for most people.
But think about this. Stellaris, if you want all the DLCs, is, $100-something. A board game version could be as little as 20 to 30, and you'd get the similar experience with a lot shorter investment of time.
I'd be surprised to see it go 20 to 30.
I'd probably see it priced maybe around 60.
I'd say 60 minimum, because it's still, even though you have the rules and everything, getting everything set up to play as a program would still be intense. They'd have to hire people. Well, actually, they'd probably use their. I don't know if they could use the in-house studio, but it'd still be more development costs to port it than just to pay $20-30.
They could use their in-house, because their in-house kind of does a lot of things now that are unrelated to video games. So they could theoretically, but it's Paradox. They'd probably push it to another studio so they could work on other things.
Yeah.
It is Paradox, and they are kind of weirdly lazy that way.
One thing I do enjoy about this Kickstarter, aggressive use of the fox race.
I
multiple
noticed
times.
that as well, and I approve.
I do love that, like, the first first 5 images you see, none of them are humans. Very good. Very, very good. Big
Who wants to play humans and stuff?
Nobody wants to play humans. Humans are boring.
Humans are boring. Why not play a freaking dragon?
One of the
Why not play a
metagame stretch
fox?
goals was humans, Earth, and Soul. That was so that it wasn't until there that you had humans even. It's sort of like, we finally got humans.
The first 4 or 5 images you see are a molluscoid, the fox person, avian, another molluscoid, and an insectoid. Good, very good. Let me play aliens.
Yeah.
I'm glad that's where they took the focus to, because there's plenty of games where you can be a human.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
this is Stellaris.
like every game.
That's the main thing I was jumping in for. Just like don't sell it too short. Give it a chance.
Okay.
Because I'm excited for this. I have been since the day I saw the Kickstarter come up, and I'm still excited for it. Even though odds are I'll never get to play it unless there is a digital version.
Oh, there'll probably be a tabletop version like a week after.
I don't know about a week. There's a lot of moving pieces here.
You'd be surprised how quickly people can work.
I mean,
That
I'll
is-
have
like
to
a
be
month.
surprised.
Yeah, a month. But the tabletop version will almost assuredly exist for tabletop sim.
Man, I want this so badly.
Well, that'd be fun times. I would try it then.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Stellaris. Alright, I guess we can move on to our final topic, which we were going to talk about, and that was going to be talking about I like to call it kind of like an interesting topic, just as a name, the evolution of the tabletop. This entire thing is something that came about as we had a very interesting discussion with me and Lightning here, about, I'm not going to get into that part of the discussion, but the idea that where has tabletop gone from and where is it going, more or less? Because the sheer fact is, and this is an interesting thing about it, it's easier for me and my friends, even though, my group of friends, now granted, like, a pandemic, all that kind of stuff, even without that as a factor, it's easy for us to play online. Because none of us have to drive anywhere to meet. Well, like, I think I'm one of the people that the most driving with, like, a half an hour of driving, which I'm not against half an hour of driving to go hang out with friends. I would love to hang out with friends physically. But online has kind of trumped that very heavily. And I think that's one of those things is, with this evolution of the online market and things like Roll20 and other things, are we necessarily seeing a lot more, maybe not the death of it, but the dying off of the physical medium of tabletop in a way? Because as much as, like, again, like, I like playing in person, gotta be honest, the advantages of playing in Roll20 are heavy. Like, I can have a character sheet at hand. I can monitor all my players' character sheets. You know, I don't have to worry about things like, granted, it has come up in the past and hasn't come up, lately, but I knew some people that sometimes you had to be like a little sus of their role sometime. I'm just saying. You get people like that where you have to be like, really? You rolled another 20?
In person?
Sus.
In person.
Yeah.
Because things like that.
I wouldn't say... Okay. My main one here is going to be differentiating how you describe tabletop. I'd say that tabletop is not dying. In-person tabletop is not dying. I'd say that the things that are made better by online are moving there. Part of this we need to keep in mind is that globalization is a thing, and most of my friends are nowhere near me. In fact, I think the closest friend that I regularly talk to is probably 8 hours away. Online gives me the ability to play these games that I otherwise would not have. Not just D&D, but also board games. Even if we take away the pandemic part of this, it opens up games to so many more people. But there is still room for, like party game tabletops. I do occasionally play tabletop party games with my friends. They're not D&D or anything, but board games. But for something like D&D, I honestly think the move to online helps it so much. It's brought more people into the game because it's so much easier to get running and keep running when there's less maintenance and, like you said, less driving and trying to get everybody in the same place at the same time. It's a lot easier when people can just be in their house, talk to each other, and play the game. And I think the move to online does nothing but help that.
I agree.
Yeah, and I will say, the physical table it's not gonna die. It's not gonna go anywhere.
Well,
because there's a very different feel
Yeah.
between an online game of D&D and an in-table game of D&D. And I'm not gonna lie, all my games are online currently. I really miss that physical feeling.
I'm gonna go the other way. I'm gonna say that I get that there's a different feeling, but part of the opening it up for more people, in addition to just the accessibility thing, is that not the vast majority who've gotten into D&D over the past year and a half that the pandemic's been going, a lot of those are people that never would have tried it physically in the first place, because it's a lot easier for people to get into role-playing when they're just talking to a mic versus when they're around a table with a bunch of other people going, man, I really don't want to look like a complete and total ass and make a fool of myself.
well,
I've also seen a middle ground here where people would still meet up in person, but they'd have like a thing on their phone. It wasn't Roll20, it was the other big one.
D&D Beyond.
Yeah, D&D Beyond. They had all their character sheet and everything on their phone, and they just would glance at it and be like, all right, so these are my stats, and they would roll a physical die. I'd have to open up my dice bag to roll it, but they had this mixture, so they still had the in-table, but they also had the physical of like rolling the dice and being face-to-face and having like a map in front of them.
I think that's more the... It's not necessarily the direction it's definitely going to go, because again, it's just easier to get a group of friends at their various computers, wherever they are, onto Roll20 when the site wants to work. Sometimes it's just like, no, you don't get to play today.
I mean,
Not allowed.
I gotta be honest, like, the amount of times that Roll20's problems have canceled out a game of mine in comparison to something happens with the player is minimum. Yeah.
It's very minimal. I think Roll20 and the move to online is overall good, and I think it will bring a lot more people in as it is currently doing. I just miss. I think it might be mostly because I miss human contact.
Human contact, I understand.
It's been a year. I haven't seen my friends in a year.
That's the biggest one for me, especially because this is slightly outside the topic, but well, not just slightly, entirely outside the topic. Especially like for me, I'm a very physical person. I enjoy hugs and cuddling. Haven't been able to do any of that, so there is definitely
I miss like when something something big or amazing happens, high-fiving the person next to you, or when their character is down and dying and they're really sad, giving them that comfort hug.
In the
And
last,
I miss a lot of that.
in the last 9 months, like the only thing that I have done that has been in contact meeting with friends and stuff was going to Joe's mother's wake.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was when I got to see, like, oh, hey, here's Joe, here's Blaze, here's a couple of our other old friends. We got together, we got to see each other and stand generally in the same area.
Yeah.
I feel like that's part of
think
influencing
that
people wanting the
that's-
table side back, because like that part I'm sure it is nice, but it's so much more convenient online.
Oh
And
yeah, absolutely.
even with in table, I'm pretty sure things will move to what Lightning described, where people are going to have the majority of their stuff on
definitely.
phones, because
It's so much
Granted,
easier.
I've never played around a table. I've never played with actual pen and paper, but that sounds like such a bloody pain in the ass to me.
It
Yeah.
can be.
It
Yeah.
can be. I both like
Um,
and hate it in such a way that I have to say I don't know if I would go back now. You know, for me as a DM, I like the tools better for the online. For me as the player, there is something about having that paper character sheet in front of you. I gotta say, you know, there just is something about that is enjoyable.
Yeah.
Here's a scenario for you. I was talking with some people yesterday, I think it was, and we were talking about AD&D, where level drain was really common, where you'd have literally multiple character sheets of the same character at different levels. So it's like, well, I've been level drained. Let's see, roll the dice. Oh, I lost this many levels. Well, let me just flip through these papers. I'm now this level.
AD&D was a mess.
going to like the players, the DMing side of it at a table, and all the player, your character sheets, stuff like that. That's I can see that being replaced with online tools like D&D Beyond, because again, that makes it a lot easier, and you have to have less things in front of you, which is a very good advantage of D&D Beyond. But again, I think most people are just gonna stick to online, and it's a little sad to me. Just a little sad.
I mean,
But to me
I-
personally,
yeah, I can see it for individual people, but
overall
to me,
it's a
it's
very
nothing
good
but a
thing.
boon.
Yeah, overall it's a very good thing.
Especially because like online Roll20 is a good way to get people into the game.
Yep.
But it isn't even the best program out there for running. Granted, some of the others are more complicated and take more time to get into, but they offer so much more if you do take the time to get into them. And one I will constantly advocate for is map tools, but
There it is.
I fucking love map tools. It
Mm.
hands down so much better than Roll20, but I will admit Roll20 does have the advantage of being more accessible.
It's the quick and easiest way to get into it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, online offers the ability for people to get into the game so much easier, and if people end up branching out into different programs, offers so much.
Yes.
Map tools can. Map tools and programs like map tools can fill in a lot of the in-person stuff that Roll20 doesn't. Just from what you can do with a token, you can be a lot more emotive. It can't fully make up for the lack of body language and being in person, but it makes strides that Roll20 misses.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I gotta say, like, yes, that's something like body language that, like, definitely helps. But, like, the fact is, like, I gotta admit, there's a lot, like, there's some things that, like, I can do so much easier online now that I couldn't do in person, so I just didn't do them in person. Maps, for one thing. Maps are a bitch. If you're making your own maps and you want to put down people with tokens, that is a bitch to do in real life. It is always going to be a bitch. There's just like a level, like, granted, like, there are a lot of cheats that are out there. You know, there are a lot of cheats. It's just usually you have to spend money on those cheats. Get them to work well for you.
Yeah.
For me, when I DM'd back in university, I just did maps of, like, we had a whiteboard that we would just sit on a table, and I would just draw the map as they go room by room, and it was sufficient. enough, and they would put their minis on there and move them around.
Well, on the topic of maps, I can't even begin to imagine how much of a pain in the ass that would be trying to get that to work in person. Online is so much easier because you can just load a map in, and
yeah, it is.
I'm gonna throw a shout out to a subreddit here, Battle Maps.
It's a good subreddit.
It's a subreddit. It's just called Battle Maps, and it is people that just make maps for people to use for free.
Yeah, I have found so many battle maps from there. They put so much work into them, and they're so detailed and pretty, and it's just for people to use for free. And it's fantastic, and that's the sort of thing online lets you do. It's people that just have a passion for the game, and they want people to have nice maps that they can use, so they make them and put them out there, and you want to play with it? Go ahead, here you go. And it opens up that, because maps add so much to the game. So bloody much to the game. Like, Theater of the Mind, I know that's how it has been done for the vast majority of forever,
history.
Basically.
But it misses something, and I have a hard time describing exactly what it is, but being able to have a map and a token and see where you are and move that token around helps the game and helps me so much in my opinion.
Definitely.
That's 100% agree.
Yeah.
Always agree. If you can do maps and tokens or anything else that, like, Theater of the Mind is not bad. That is that is kind of like the low point that you're going to be doing for role-playing games. You want to build off of there and give more things that help a lot with it. And that's the thing is, it's like everything I do, if I put a map down, if I have people have tokens down, I am putting them more into their character, into the world and stuff. The thing is also, like, the thing is, like, I gotta say, like, even the jankiest of maps do that to a degree.
Like, even, like...
The biggest thing is that, like, the human imagination is a powerful tool.
Yeah.
But the more you can assist it, because even with a map, everything is still theater of the mind, technically. You're imagining your character doing these things, and you're imagining the world they're in. Things like maps and tokens just make it so much easier for you to imagine what's going on. And it takes less... it takes some of the strain off of imagining everything, because it gives you a basis to build off of.
Yeah, and I'll use this as like a good example. When one of my games moved from Theater of the Mind into online maps, because this was a 5e game I was in, we didn't really use battle maps. We just drew them on a table and put our representative tokens down, which could be anything from a piece of cardboard with a name on it to a miniature.
Oh my god. I'll have a side story after you finish this up.
Good. It went from we kind of moved in the middle of a dungeon, and the opening of the dungeon was completely Theater of the Mind, so we had to imagine all that dungeon. But then we moved in, and it was much easier going down a hallway to imagine a fireball being lobbed at us from out of the darkness, and me as a monk using my evasion and, like, kicking off a wall and going backwards. It was easier to imagine that because I didn't have to imagine what the dungeon hallway looked like as well.
Yeah, because it's really easy to misinterpret it when someone's like, description of room.
Yeah.
Was everybody listening? Did someone mishear a word?
Oh, yeah.
Or if you look at a map, this is what the room looks like. If you have any other questions, you can ask, but this is what the room is.
Yeah,
yeah, like, that can help a lot. What I was going to say is, for the jankiest tokens that have ever been used, since you mentioned jank tokens, the best one was, we were fighting a giant dragon, and we didn't have anything to represent it on, like, a token board, so it ended up being, someone had a jug of vinegar. And the thing is, it was supposed to be a person, like, riding it, so we had, like, a tiny, like D&D miniature on top of the jug of vinegar, like, riding it.
There was a point where we were fighting, I forget what it was some form of adult dragon, and we didn't have an adult dragon miniature, so someone just put, like, a shoe there, and we're like, alright, that's the dragon now. The shoe is the dragon.
I mean,
if you want the jankiest one, and probably the biggest reason why I can never fully detract from Theater of the Mind, why I always have to give it some props. This isn't D&D, but it is still tabletop, and in a way roleplay. This is a very short story about the hardest game of 40k, Warhammer 40k ever played.
Oh no.
Some people, and judging from Tantus's appearance, look, he might know what this is.
Mm-hmm.
But in 1991, in Iraq, There's a pair of U.S. Marines, Army, not sure, but they're in Iraq. They don't have any of the miniatures to play 40K. They don't have any of the proper tools. Literally, all they have is a pair of dice and a copy of White Dwarf. All they have. But they are able to sit there and play a game on the jankiest table that is literally just a air cleaner for a tank. They are playing with literal white stones, and their ruler is a dipstick from a destroyed tank. And they played this game
so much.
Nothing but stones, a pair of dice, and a dipstick, and a book of rules.
That's just
And
what
they-
you have to do sometimes.
And they played this game. In their heads, it is an intense battle between Space Marines and Eldar. And they made it work.
The
And that's
people
the
walking
biggest...
by, it's just some people playing with rocks.
Literally just rocks. White stones. I can link this into the Discord and show you, but this is the biggest reason I can never fully detract from Theater of the Mind, because if you have the slightest will and want to play these games, you can.
I mean,
And
like,
these guys are proof of that. You can play with a handful of stones
Yeah.
on a packing box for an air cleaner for a tank.
my favorite token that we never actually used, but we threatened to use it because it was something that existed, is a friend of mine was knitting. That's what she kind of got. She's been getting into like knitting and crocheting and stuff all over the years. Anyway, we were playing, and it just so happened that she had just finished up a stuffed squid when our enemy was a kraken.
Oh, hell yeah.
And it was like a big boss enemy because it was a Kraken sorcerer. So we're like because it was originally, because it's Slarthnikel, which is in D&D lore and it's supposed to be a wizard, but we changed it to a sorcerer because it would have been stupid for him to have a spell book underwater. But then we're like, no. But she's like, one day I will knit a little wizard hat and spell book for his one tentacle.
Please tell me she did.
She hasn't yet. She keeps intending to do it, but like she hasn't done it yet. I'll have to remind her to be like, you got to get Slarthy his hat and his wizard book.
That's so good.
Yeah. No, see, like, and it's things like that are like the creativity side of it, like. And that's one of those things that, like, for a lot of years I had to deal with. Like, nowadays, I also feel like there's a level of it, like, drawing a janky map in Roll20 is pretty much the exact same as I would do with my tile set, because I had gotten this set of, like, generic dungeon tiles from D&D back in 3rd edition era that I would pull out and just, like, assemble them in a shape. And it's the exact same goddamn thing. You know.
It's identical.
That's what happened in my Star Wars game, where it's like, all right, so you're walking around town and you get spotted by some guys with guns. Let me just quickly draw up a bunch of buildings and they just made boxes on the map.
Yeah, there we go. Hey.
dragged on some tokens. They're like, all right, cool. And these the buildings are green, and they had an orange top. The orange top was to simulate that it was the roof. They were kind of like Art Deco buildings or whatever. So they had the flat roof, and it's like, and you have like half cover up there, and also you're above them, so like if they're below you, you have 3/4 cover because they're shooting up at you. And yeah, that was our map. It was a bunch of boxes drawn onto a hex map.
And even with as simple as that is, it still helps you so much get into the situation.
Oh no,
definitely.
Throwing together some kind of map can be very helpful. And like the thing is, like, and there are certain games where knowing where everything is actually important. I feel like even in 5th edition, a map can be very helpful because, like, you can do Theater of the Mind for a combat, but having that map means that you understand the tactical advantage of movement and positioning, because that actually is a big thing in a lot of games.
Or not having to ask the DM, like, all right, Goblin number 5, how close is he to Goblin number 6, 7, and 8? Like, oh, well, you know, they're about all 5 feet apart. Oh, cool. All right, I'm gonna fireball number 5. So how many does that hit? Oh, well, let's see. No, just no.
Or even if you want to take it outside the battle side, there is a very recent example of drawing a map so the players understand what's going on that we can make use of. And Tantus is already giggling.
I know. Legacies of Kain, trying to explain the map. Yeah.
I was there, and I'm like, just make a map. I'm in chat, and I'm like, just Make a map. It doesn't have to be perfect.
The exact setting doesn't really matter, but we're in this basically abandoned, broken down castle, and we're trying to figure out where the hell to go and where the stairs go and what door leads to where. We didn't have the slightest clue. We got so lost to the point where Ted is just like, screw it, I'm drawing you a map.
And the thing is, like, I can understand that. That's one of those things that, like, when I looked at the map I drew, it was incredibly simple. But there was, like, explaining stuff sometimes doesn't translate well as you want. And that can cause confusion with players. And that
especially the more complicated the situation gets. Like, human language is useful, a very useful tool that we've evolved to actually, communicate with everybody, but it still has its limits.
Again, like, though, jank maps and, like, their designs and stuff, I feel like they are equivalent to, like, what you get in real life. I think that's something that you're always going to get. I think, like, it's that thing of, like, getting back to how we were originally talking about all this and how, like, the online tabletop has actually evolved the games and the way that role-playing is done. I'm not going to say you're ever going to get rid of in-person D&D. That's something that's not going to happen.
There's always going to be a group that wants that.
Yeah. But I think with how things have changed and evolved, I think that is going to be, in the future at least, it feels like that is the minority rather than the majority now. Online play, I think, not only is it here to stay, because it definitely is, I think even now, especially with what's going on, it's trumped it, and with the pandemic and all, and I don't think it's going back. Granted,
absolutely not. It's here forever.
Like, don't get me wrong. Now that I've finally, well, not finally, I guess it's been for a couple of years now, I've been actually able to play, but I've had a lot of experience online now, and don't get me wrong, I'd love to be able to do, not every game, but like a game in person, like even just one would be really cool to be able to do.
Oh, like an in person one shot.
I don't have that ability. Short of me going out and trying to find strangers to play with, which I don't want to do.
Well,
it's never going to happen.
That's
the big advantage.
After the plague, we'll all just go meet up with Tantus, and he'll do a one-shot for us.
Totally would do that.
Throw a couple $1,000 at me, and I'll
It's road trip time, baby.
I'll drive up to Alberta and come drag you here.
And that's the big problem.
We can do the cabin rentals in Maryland. Really nice rustic cabin. Got a beach that we can go hang out, role play for an entire week, hang out.
Hell
cool.
yeah, I'm for it.
Yeah,
and that's the big thing that I like about it coming online is that I have the ability to play this. I never would have been able to play with Tantus or Lightning or Momo or any. I wouldn't have been able to if it weren't for it moving to online.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be able to bully you with my horrible character concepts.
You will be the death of me one day.
Love you, buddy.
The in-person things. This was around the time that I think 3rd edition was coming out. So, like 20 million years ago. I had a friend who played AD&D. And I mean, I had to involve a camera, and I don't want to do that right now. But I have his copy of the Monster Manual. He gave it to me because we were planning on like doing a game and stuff, and they probably had 3rd edition books at that time, right?
Yeah.
But like very soon after, I moved across the country. I moved like 3 to 4 states away, and I didn't know anybody, and I was in a weird period of my life where I didn't want to get to know more people, and so my social life basically just stopped existing at that point. And I would have been in the same boat as Umber, right? I just never would have, done anything. I became just like antisocial to like the maximum level you could possibly be, and I eventually kind of like, as the internet became more prevalent and stuff, I kind of came out of that, right? But I mean, I live in that state where those friends were, but that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
They're done. They moved on with their lives, right?
Like similar to that, my old university group, I haven't spoken to any of them in 6 years at this point. So, like, online has helped me start playing again, which is really nice. But it's been
1 week. Sorry.
Yeah.
Since you loved me,
I gotta
talk your head to the side and said I'm angry.
I gotta be honest. Oh, go ahead.
I do miss like that group, and it was always awkward going to like. I eventually found a new, in-person group, but it was never like that much of the same connection. Because they were people I met in the fucking game store and didn't spend like multiple years in classes together with and become friends with. They were always just like the people I knew at this game store, and I'd go there on Fridays and we'd play our adventures. And so online has definitely helped because I get to play with wonderful people like Umber, Lightning, and Tantus, and all my other beautiful friends who I love and get to torture.
I don't believe love involves making me want to jump off a bridge, Momo.
I don't know.
Momo!
All might be very loving.
I feel
Totally
like
normal elven skull.
Momo will lovingly come up behind me one day and shove me off that bridge.
I'm gonna just give you the skull one day and leave, disappear forever. This is yours now.
Enjoy this skull.
I feel like
This is-
that's
This
where
is my final gift to you.
I'm an exception in a lot of this, because the fact is, my old group from high school, at least for my original D&D group, I have connections with most of them. My original D&D group, the first group I did D&D with back in high school, was Joe, Blaze, a friend of ours, Audrey, and a few others that we haven't gotten in contact with. I talk with Audrey here and there, and Blaze and Joe, I do it with stuff weekly still.
Nice.
You know, I kept in contact with those two over all these years, and that was nice, I think. You know, it's like there's a lot of people that I think we haven't kept in contact with, but, you know,
Yeah.
for whatever reason,
Adult.
you know, we managed to keep at least some contact between the three of us, at least, and a few kind of others on the side.
I think where my sort of like in-person tabletop stuff started falling apart was when I moved away from Pittsburgh into the middle of fucking nowhere
That
to
happens.
live with my family.
Mhm.
And then I lost contact with just a lot of people. Some of them were in the military, so they're stationed on the other side of the planet. And we just kind of stopped talking to each other after that, which is sad and unfortunate.
It has been effort for me to try to keep in contact with certain people. That's something that I have to say. Like, there are certain people that I feel like, because it was always my place in the group to contact everybody, that was one of those things that I had as an advantage. I was the group organizer. We weren't going to do anything unless I organized it. I tested this out a couple of times. If I didn't say shit, then no one would like be like, "Hey, are we gaming today?" No one would have shown up. I was required to be like, "Hi, everybody. Are we getting like to text everybody online, you know, or back in the first days, you know, giving a call, you know, to people
Yeah.
before you
Random
Boy.
call on the phone with the landline.
Mom, get off the phone! I need it!
I need
Yeah,
to
oh,
please
it's
stop
Jimmy
using
and-
the internet. I need to call someone.
Is
Oh,
Jimmy at the
God.
house right now?
I mean,
Oh,
like-
he's outside. I'll tell him to call me back when he comes in.
I mean, like, there's a couple of people that I probably would remember most of their cell phone numbers now. Yeah. And something like Blaze, I just checked it now. His cell phone number that he has now is the one that he had when I first met him.
Oof.
It's a long time to keep a number.
Well, he's been on the same. He got on a Verizon plan with his family, and he just hasn't left it. You know, that kind of thing.
I need to get a new phone.
Like, I have technically been on the same number now for quite a while since I went on Verizon, but I was like the last person to go on Verizon in our kind of group. And yes, I'll put it that way. Let me put it this way. It was janky enough back in the day. When I went on Verizon, it was me, my mother, my uncle, and one of my friends got on our plan. And she was actually really good about paying that off, and eventually did like cancel it, you know. But it was nice that for the longest time, for like 6 or 7 years, she was on her family plan.
Yeah.
Because she wouldn't have had a cell phone otherwise. She wouldn't have been able to afford it otherwise. You know, and I'm like, okay, sure. Because her parents
I mean,
didn't
hell,
have a plan.
I'm still on the family plan that we made 9 years ago.
Yeah, that's where I'm
Because
at.
if myself and my brother were to, break off the family plan and get our own, it'd be more expensive.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
Yeah.
it's still just me, my brother, my mom, and my dad, all on the same family
I think
plan.
that's why like Blaze has been on it forever. You know.
Mine costs me $40 a month. If I wasn't, it would probably be like double
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because phone service.
Mine would more than double because the state of Canadian telecommunications.
Yeah,
adoption right
you're
now.
pretty bad up there.
But,
It's fun having a monopoly that
I know, right?
isn't
I feel
being
that
crushed
with my
'cause
my internet, because the only one available to me is Comcast, and
Oh no.
they're terrible.
that's why I feel I'm lucky. I'm in the battlegrounds area between Comcast and Verizon that I have either of them. So they still charge an arm and a leg, but slightly less arm and a leg.
Yeah, it's either, hey, you can stick with us, or you could try your luck with Time Warner or some shit. Good fucking luck. Your internet cutouts all the time, idiot.
Good
internet is a
times.
basic human right.
Should be. They don't.
It
treat
is
like
these days.
that. It really is these days.
Well, it
yeah.
should be. It still isn't, but it should be.
It should be because of the evolution of the universe and the world.
Yeah, but
Give it 10 years, no. 10 years ago, no. Nowadays, I would definitely say yes.
I think you absolutely need the internet to survive. No.
Yeah.
Like-
If only just because so much of our daily lives has moved online.
Yeah, like
Yes.
finding a job without the internet is almost impossible now.
Yeah. And yet you still have boomers going, it's fine, just
Yeah,
call them, it'll be
call them
fine.
And it's
Just show up and give it a No. 90%
not how
of
it works.
businesses, if you just show up with a resume or if you're
Right.
constantly calling them, you're never going to get hired.
resume
They
goes
don't want
right in the fucking trash.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because they have systems set up that automatically scan them. Is it better? But it's how it's done.
But
It's faster.
It is faster.
Yeah, it's how it's done now.
I still have people that like I haven't put in a resume in a while, but last time I did, they were still like, you should give them a call and stuff, and I like thought about that in a while.
Yeah.
I'm like, they don't
No.
really do
No,
that.
you shouldn't. And that's still their advice because that's how it was done in their day and they haven't adapted.
I mean,
you
like,
can't do that these days.
I'll give you if it's a place that I have to go in and fill in a resume at, or something like that. That's different. That's like mom and
Yeah.
pop or small
When I-
business.
when
They
I
might not
worked
have
at-
it.
I worked at this old fucking boomer store that only old people shopped at, and I had to go in and fill out the resume there and hand it to the store manager, and then he read it over 30 minutes, went and sat down for the interview. Shocker, no one wants to work there, so I got the job.
So it still exists that you need that call or in-person stuff, but just not as much anymore. And
It's
especially
We
very
have
rare.
gone way off
Very
topic.
rare.
we have gone way off topic. Why don't we move on to what we did in tabletop this week to finish
Oh
up today?
boy.
Because that's probably something. Now,
There's been some games.
there's been
There's
some
been
games.
some things, some cursed things
Ah.
involving a weird man in a mask who drank some water.
Tantas had
I
Star
Well,
Wars.
before-
No, Star
I
Trek.
actually had
Star Trek,
4
but called
games
Star Wars.
between Monday and Tuesday. I did have 4 games.
Oh shit.
We had records in which everybody finished up in Fantasy Australia and got the fuck out of there.
We gave a Devil Lord a nuke, basically.
You
That's
did
fine.
give him
We
Devil
gave
Lord-
him a nuke.
You did give him what technically could be called a
A
fantasy nuke.
magical nuke.
Yeah. I mean,
That's fine.
it's a goblet that had a horrible ritual related to it that could devour the souls all
Fine.
around it to power its dark powers. It- That happens to be
This-
something that there's no defense for in a modern day
It's,
version of this world.
It's fine.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine.
Yeah. That was what basically your session was. Yeah. Giving him a nuke.
Well,
And then I did have Pathfinder 2nd edition, kind of. We did... what is it? Not maintenance. Basically, we went through our entire loot list from the first, pretty much, adventure.
Oh, you did inventory management.
We did
hell yeah,
inventory
the
management.
best part of tabletop.
With a little bit of, because we now own a castle, a little bit of castle management.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so we did things like repaired parts of it and cleaned it up finally. We're like, and our indentured goblin servants, we got them to work. Look, it may have been that we've befriended the goblin tribe that technically lived here, and now that we own the place, we're continuing to allow them to live here and convince them that's a great thing.
That's feudalism
Allow
for
you
you.
to live.
That's just feudalism for you.
We now own this place because we defended it and got rid of all the bad things that were trying to murder you. Now you are with us. Now please help us clean this place
piece
up.
of paper says I own your land. It's mine now. Please work for me. If you don't, get out.
We did find the freaking the deed. We found the deed to the place. We did do that. So we're like, we have the piece of paper that says we own this place now.
Nice.
Ignore the scribbles on the old names and that we put us directly below them. That does not matter.
I mean, the place had been
Listen,
abandoned for a couple of decades. It's fine.
Listen, if you find it on a corpse, it's yours.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the
how it
rule of
works.
D&D.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then we did have Legacies of Kain, in which we only had 3 players, so we just had a little bit of globe-tropping adventures and resolved a little bit more of all of you trying to get back home.
Mm-hmm.
And running very fast at night.
Running in the 90s.
Guys,
Where
I
I
just-
like to be.
There's just part of that entire running thing that, like, it broke me. It just broke me. I have to be honest about that. I'm like, this is too much. This is too much. Just steal a fucking car, please.
I should have stuck with the running.
It was,
The running was funner. It would
was
have been more
funner.
math.
Deja vu. I'm just
I'm just like, I don't want to deal with
I
it.
am on the street.
You could
And
just-
I know it's my time to go.
You could just, you're freely allowed to steal a car. Please just do that instead.
No,
No more
I'm not-
rolling
I'm
around.
not
Hear
run.
that? You
I
never
can
have to
run as
roll.
fast as a car. Why would I get it? I'm a superhuman. Screw that nonsense.
No.
Rule of cool.
No, Umber, you see, you're not reading between the lines here. You've just given a free pass to steal any car ever. So you
Any
never
car
have
that
to
you're
roll
right.
for stealing a
Yeah.
car. You just
There
be
you
like, I'm
go.
gonna start running, and then tends to be like, no, you have a
No,
car
I take
now.
it back. I take it back. You just get the car. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Please don't run anymore.
Lamborghini?
A new Bugatti, you say? Why, don't mind if I do, Titus. Thank you. I always wanted a sports car.
So
Well, you can't have
yeah,
a sports car. Back
Yeah,
to
you-
running!
roll
Well-
a die. Antoine determines what kind of car you get.
so
Running it is, then.
at least 3 of you are theoretically back in New York, and 4 of you because Samuel got dragged along as an NPC by by Nathan, so it's fine. Oh, and I made up that Dawn was a crime lord in Rio de Janeiro now. That was the thing that happened.
And
Sounds
Leslie
about right.
is just chilling with the babes.
Well, yes, you're chilling with the babes on the yacht for that like. Was
Oh,
a
that's
race.
right. You're on a freaking yacht now.
I'm on a yacht for weeks.
Well, it was,
It's perfect.
Hell yeah.
Screw the nonsense of dealing with a possible world-ending tragedy. I'm just gonna chill with some babes. It's fine.
There you go. You figured it out. You'll die in style.
I'll die
Maybe-
happy.
Maybe they're into weird shadow arms. You don't know.
Yeah, it's a very specific fetish.
Look, there's a reason Leslie always wants the lights off.
uh-huh.
There's so much more you can do when you have 6 additional limbs.
Oh, okay. Moving on.
Then there was Star Trek, which like I was kind of for a second I was like miffed I lost someone, but then I realized I took a step back and I realized, oh wait, out of the 25 people I was looking after medically, only 1 died.
That's that's still pretty good.
Yeah.
It's a good track record.
I did like 24 sets of emergency medicine to keep a whole bunch of people alive.
Yeah.
And you know, goddamn what? I succeeded at all of them, bitches.
And one guy,
No,
he had a
no.
family and loved ones. Doesn't matter.
Look, he
That's some good doctrine, is what that is, right?
counted as a red shirt.
Well, his shirt was made red from the blood, so obviously.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
a red
Yeah.
shirt now.
Look, you can only rescue so many people at Star Trek. And those like red shirts, they always those like
They're expendable.
yeah,
he
the-
didn't
the-
even have
They
a
didn't even
last
finish
name.
paying off their college debts.
yeah, like every one of those like security people that are sent down on like beaming parties, you know that like half of them are going to die whenever they're beamed down somewhere. Something goes wrong, one of them dies horribly, you know, that's what
Yeah.
happens.
Let's be
Well, I
honest,
mean,
red
when
shirts
you're-
in Star Trek are just slayers from 40k. They want to die.
Well, when you're preparing an away mission, you take Bones. Of course, Kirk has to go himself. Kirk has to go himself, and you take Spock, and well, you need a 4th member, so you take Ensign Ricky.
You take the one that hasn't been given a last name.
Yeah.
And Ensign Ricky, fresh out of college, is his first
Yeah.
day on the job, and he's so excited to be there.
So happy to
Oh boy,
be
sir,
here
I'm so happy to be here.
help.
Most of the time they're security, but sometimes they're different. But let's say he's security, so he's like, I'm here to make sure you're safe and sound. If there's any kind of danger, got my phaser ready. Don't worry about it, sir. I appear to have a hole where my heart is. And oh no, Bones! It's some kind of murderous things out there to take care of.
Yep.
Can you see if
Good thing
Ricky's
your red
alright?
shirt took the mandatory death per sea.
He's dead, Jim! Captain, it appears that there are some kind of natives with some kind of weird, strange, explosive spears chucking them at us.
And they are highly illogical.
They're highly illogical. They're randomly chucking them.
Bones, like, can't you just pick him back up? Damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a necromancer!
Amazing.
What do you think this is? Some kind of tabletop board game?
Look, my plan, we got a milestone in that game, and my plan is to reduce my engineering to 1 also, so I can, if we have to roll science, con, or engineering, any of them, I can use my special ability. Damn it, I'm a doctor, not a...
Blank.
Fuck.
I will be using that at some point in time, and just being like, I'll fix it. There we go. Doctoring.
Hey, Bones, can you just reset the galaxy? Damn it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a god! Wait a minute.
I can roll it.
I will medically alter the entire fabric of the universe and reality. Time and space will bend to my will
I
because
get
I'm
to
a
use
medical
medicine
god.
in place of it. Oh, I am a medical god. I have
my
a 5 in it. That's like the
God.
best you can do.
And let's see, what is it? Children of Wrath? You didn't have Children of Wrath?
No, we didn't have Children of Wrath. We could have probably run it, but the part that was going to happen, one of the people they were missing, Kaz, Fish, it would have been really interesting and good for his character, so that's why we kind of skipped it over.
Instead, we had secret conversation.
Yes, we did have secret conversation, because there was something that was technically in the last week we didn't talk about, and that was your game, which we do for funds on Saturdays, which was the Hot Springs Adventure.
Hot spring fun time where nothing weird happened.
Nothing weird happened at all. There was no ghosts. There was no skulls.
There were no naked orcs. A lot.
No naked
No one
Certainly
drank.
not a dragon.
No one drank dragonborn bathwater.
Nope. And there was most certainly not a person who drowned.
Look,
No.
if you want my bathwater, you could at least pay for it.
Look, Marty enjoyed the food, spent some nice time on their own in one of the rooms, got a date, hung out with said date, had a nice night, came back in the morning, got their, phone number or something, effectively.
got their sending number.
Yeah, got their sending number. Here's where I'm staying. Look me up when you're in town again.
Basically, what Marty experienced was that gif of the dude walking in with the pizza and the room's on fire. That's what Marty experienced that session.
Yeah, Marty had a great time, got a hot spring girlfriend. The rest of the party was just chaos. And I'm kind of like, are they gonna ask the people who work here about this? No, they're just gonna climb the walls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why
Well,
would they do the logical thing?
It's difficult because it's a sheer wall and it's damp and wet because it's in a hot spring room. Oh, you're just gonna transform into a spider? Okay, you can climb it. And it's oh, what if I take I forget what it was.
It was a crowbar.
A crowbar, yeah. What if I tie the rope to the crowbar? I'm yeah, I guess that's possible. I do know how crowbars look. And it's well, you got a makeshift grappling hook, I guess. And okay.
Really? I missed it. That's what they did.
Yeah,
I really
that's
missed
what we
it. That's
did.
what they did. Oh my god.
Mhm.
Dumber than I thought.
And then, a minute later, Umber's characters, his name I can't pronounce. That's the one. You'll have to teach me how to pronounce that one day. Just chilling, enjoying, and then earth-shattering boom later. Has to come over and see what the hell's going on.
Technically, there was 2 booms before
There
you
were
even got
two,
to the
yeah.
room.
I mean,
I was having such a wonderful vacation.
and I showed up way afterwards, and I had to be why don't you just talk to the people in charge and find out about what was going on? They probably would have let you do all this.
And that's when Dranthir adopted Marty.
For context of why Roland didn't think to do that, Roland has 8 charisma. He's not going to talk to people. The team of 8 charisma was the one handling this ghost.
Yes,
They are all 8
it was
charisma.
It was Team 8 Charisma who were there's noises in that room. Let's investigate.
You would be forgiven for thinking they are also 8 int and 8 whiz.
I have high wisdom. Excuse you.
You knew it was wise to not stay in the room and get punched to death.
Yeah.
Because
God.
every
Wise
now
to
and
leave
then...
and go get my shit to fight a ghost.
Yeah, because every now and then when you were staying in the room, some incredibly powerful force smacked you in the chest, and it was very, very painful.
And
And then Dragonborn Daddy had to show up and bust a ghost.
You were just
for
chilling, and then some weirdo with a skull was like right next to you at some point.
Also, the dragon got crit hit by a thrown stool.
Yeah, stool.
Which was the low point of his vacation. That's the point where he said, "Fuck this shit."
Just explodes the room in ice.
Snap.
Yeah.
It was good.
Flinging ice knives from both hands and then breath weapon ice.
Breath
cover the
weapon
room.
to kill a 1 HP ghost.
Yeah, I had to redo the math because I realized, wait, these were magical damage. It didn't have resistance to this. So I redid all the math. I'm like, oh, it's fine. It just has 1 hit point. There's no retconning needed.
Such good times. Such good times.
Yeah.
And now we play again today, and I have to interact with those people again.
Yes, you do. But don't worry about it. I don't know what's planned for today. I have
I'll let
have
you
2
hold
maps.
my skull.
I have 2 maps. One I'm definitely going to be using for sure. The other one I don't know if it's going to happen. And I definitely know what would happen if you guys decide to leave the town. Where you're going to go?
What time is that?
I don't know.
It's in 2 hours, right?
It's in 2 hours.
It's in 2 hours. Definitely.
Right,
Well, I
feel
think
like
that's a good point for today.
Yeah.
because I have some stuff to go do.
I probably
Yes.
want to pick up like something for dinner or go into the store. 'Cause I know we
I
do
should
something
cook something before game.
But anyway,
Yeah.
thanks everybody for joining us today. Thank you, Umber, for popping in. Thank you, Lightning and Momo, for coming originally.
Always a pleasure.
It was fun. It was great. It was another good episode, another good discussion, another good thing about talking to some tabletop here. So I hope everybody had a good time joining us. I should be back next week with maybe some of these folks, maybe whatever else. We'll find out. Anyway, goodbye for now. Farewell. I'm just gonna.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, see ya.